Hello, welcome to Lugal's World. Today we have a new friend of mine, Gerrit. Gerrit, introduce yourself to Lugal's World, my lovely critters that are watching.
Well, thank you for having me here today. So my name is Gerrit. I am an energy healer, a shaman, Antojai coach, Antojai alchemy coach, initiate Kabbalist, and seven-time master in traditional and other styles of Reiki, and a grandmaster in quantum Reiki.
Awesome. I was wondering, how did you, did you have some kind of initiation or something that sparked you the spiritual aspects in your life?
Yes, there is some background to my story. So basically, I grew up in a very strict religious household, and then uh, the my mom finds out that I'm gay. She doesn't agree with that, and then I run away from home, and I was like homeless for about 22 hours, and then I I moved in with my now husband, and we've been together for almost 7 years. And now, since that, with our time together, I've launched into a whole new side of spirituality that moved me from a closed system into this grand architecture of the cosmos. And now I'm really happy to be sharing that with other people. So when I moved in with my husband 7 years ago, he introduced me to a process which helped me process all the stuff that happened with my parents and my family. And then he said, use this as your foundation, and you can do whatever you want, just as long as it's not hurting you and it's not hurting others. Have at it, have fun with it, and have fun. I did. So uh, 7 years of study and has led me to this place where I can be a coach for everyone who needs the help, and to give healing and shift people into a higher awareness. So in 2019, I began my pathway in Reiki, and I loved it. I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. It wasn't the end of the story for the Reiki. I got introduced to someone named Axel Carrasquillo, aka Master Antojai. Excuse me. Um, so he taught me all that I know when it comes to Antohai, quantum Reiki, chakra mirror, 5D energy healing, you name it. It's basically like this ascended shamanism that he teaches, that now I'm happy to teach as well. So that's what's got me here today. The biggest thing that's helped me in my life right now is Antohai.
My question about if you're going to put humanity right now on the earth on a part of the tree of life, where would you put it in
Where
Kabbalah?
would I? What? Where would I put humanity as far as their consciousness on the tree of life?
Yeah, right
Uh,
now, Earth. So
right now. Hmm. So right now, that kind of a question, it fluctuates year to year. So I would say that humanity is humanity is on the pillar of severity right now. Um, this year it's ruled by Saturn and Venus, and both of those energies converge onto Mars. So we're in between Binah, Gavura, and is it Hesed, or am I thinking of something else?
Chokmah?
Chokhmah, thank you. Yeah, the side with the pillar of severity. Saturn is associated to the Binah. Venus is Chokhmah, and Gavura is Mars.
So
So
how will
right
that, yeah. Mhm.
so right now with all those energies, what we're coming to right now, we're on the scales of uh karma right now, and we're purging a lot of old ideas right now. And so whatever, what we haven't done in the past 2 years is coming back as an echo. And so if you didn't get something like done in 2022, you better get it done this year. Like if you didn't learn this one specific lesson that your guides and your angels and your higher self have been trying to teach you about, then you better get it this round, because after this, it's going to be crazy.
What's the craziness? Tell me more.
Uh, so have you heard of the cycles of humanity having a correspondence to the change in the seasons throughout the year?
I've not heard of that, but I feel it.
So let me give like the most recent outline of our recent history. So the last winter we went through was like this combination between from, uh, uh, 1900 to World War II. That was like the winter period that we just went through. And the winter season of the collective, or the winter cycle within a human lifespan typically lasts about 25 years. So from 1920, roughly 1920 to 1945, that was the winter. So we had anywhere between from the recovery of World War One to the Great Depression to here in the United States, the the Dust Bowl and World War II. So that was the winter period, and the winter energy has anything from, and the energies like death, retreating within, hibernation, and death, and transcendence, and preparation for the next spring. So when World War II ended, that began the next cycle, or the next season in the cycle of a human lifespan. Then next, the spring lasted about 20 years, so 1945 to 1965. And what happened in between all that? Well, just like the energy of spring is about vitality, renewal, rebirth. Um, you see all the you see every industry, technology went boomed. There were medical advancements in technology. Um, the population, the whole baby boomer generation, there's a reason why they call it a baby boomer, because there was a lot of babies coming out during that time. And then finally, when you get to closer between 1950 to 1957 to 1965, you see the flower power movement, or the nuclear disarmament movement, the peace movement, the hippie revolution, and with that also the sexual revolution. And springtime, it has that energy of sexuality and vitality in it. So that was our springtime. And then from 1965 to 1983, that was our summer. The summer is the season of growth and an organism reaching its full potentiality. So this would include all the technological advancements and the major growth that happened in between that time, like the vibrations from the Cold War era, and the tearing down of the Berlin Wall, the creation of the United Nations. What else? And then, the British Commonwealth started to gain its independency from the British Empire. Those are like the major things that happened during our growth season. And then from 1983 to 2005, that was the fall, or the autumn time. The autumn is basically a shedding of an old skin, or getting rid of old ideas. and, like the trees shaking off old leaves. Excuse me. And what was happening during that, from that period, from between 83 and 2005? Well, we had the AIDS crisis. We had the death of Princess Diana. We had the whole big scare of the millennium changing from the 1999 to 2000. Like, oh my God, we're gonna get out of here. Everyone's gonna die because all the technology is gonna fail. Yay, we're gonna get out of here. No, no, you're not. So that was the fall, and that was the time when you were supposed to start collecting energy and storing for hibernation for this winter period we went through. So then what happened after 2005? Well, we had the recession here in the United States. I can remember this clearly because this was a huge impact on my childhood. Like, I was stunted in my grade schooling. Like, I was behind 3 grades because my parents couldn't afford to put me or my little brother through to the next grades, and I had to play catch up fast for the next 2 years. So yeah, so from 2005, so let's see, 2005 plus 25, that puts us at 2005 and 2030. So right now, Saturn, since it also carries a similar vibration to the winter cycle and seasons of man, and why it's important for us to learn the lessons that we did get and we'll have an easy year this year, or that we didn't get, and the stuff that we didn't do is going to affect us hard this year. And this is the do or die year, because this is what the crazy part happens during the wintertime of the seasons and cycles of man. The winter has a lot of tough hardships, including economic to familial to worldwide catastrophe. So if you don't get the lessons this year right now that you didn't get in 2022, you're signing up for an even longer haul, and you'll have to wait for that springtime to arrive.
How does someone find their what their lesson is?
How does someone find what their lesson is?
Yeah.
Hmm. So for example, I would say that if you know what your dharma is, you can avoid karma altogether, because a deviation away from dharma, or your soul purpose, or the reason, like, why you're here on earth right now, if you deviate from that, it's gonna generate karma, because that's like going against what your soul nature is all about. So the lessons, that would be my suggestion. Like, go back to what you were originally here to do, and you'll basically cancel all those lessons. But if you're still wanting to, like, deviate away from that, you're gonna find the lessons easily. Does that make sense?
If you deviate it, you'll find the lessons easily, you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
That sounds like it'll become clear.
Yep. So, like, one of the things that, like, I can give you an example for my lesson. It was to speak up and speak out, and I didn't do that for 2022 or 2023 like I was supposed to. But now that, I got up to a point where I had some financial hardship. I'm like, Gerrit, you need to start doing something. Light a fire under your butt and talk to people about what you have and get it out there. And, I have. And what I'm supposed to be doing is to be empowering and teaching people how to tap into their truest nature, and you know what? As a reward, I'm getting paid for it too, and I'm living a life where I can sustain myself and do the spiritual work I was supposed to do here.
And everyone, go support him. Go and book a session with him. The links are in the description, and comment your favorite thing of what he said, and go send him all the love and support.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So what else would you like to know?
I would like to know about a lot of people are very paranoid, or I kind of see I feel like the place where we're at is kind of like a cosmic train station, where I feel like there's so many different jurisdictions that this is kind of a crossroads that we're either like transitioning into in kind of that. Can you speak? Is my feeling on this accurate, or do you feel like it's something else, or what?
So essentially the crossroads of destiny. What you're
Yeah, I
saying?
feel like there's just so many different jurisdictions one
Mhm.
could fall under at this time. I feel like I'm seeing all of them, and I'm feeling all of them, and I'm like, okay, which jurisdiction do I want to fall under? And I have a clue, but it's like what I feel like my jurisdiction is like seeing all the jurisdictions or something.
Oh yeah. So you've heard of Dolores Cannon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know the whole where the Earth is splitting off into two different realities. One is the based on the karma and the 3D people that didn't get what living in true total love is. We're gonna stay on this ball over here, and while people who got 5D and who were all about living and prospering in life, living with the base frequency of love, they're gonna be on this rock. So that's part of this crossroads. Like this is like this is the determining years. Um, so back in 2019, I learned something like this, that all the healers that like awoke back up in the year 2012 like have to be at their max potential by the year 2022, because between 2022 and 2030, that is when the most chaos is going to happen. Um, and you're supposed to be at your maximum potential in order to be helpful and to be of service to everyone who's still trying to learn about this 5D environment. So the other thing too is that we are already in the 5D right now. That energy is in the environment. Our planet has come into this like this pi section of the galaxy or the cosmos that is like a 5D zone. And so like this is supposed to be like the years where you're like supposed to get, you're either going to be on a frequency based on love, your base frequency is on love and authenticity, or you're still going to be living in fear, apathy, grief, and hardship over here. So that's part of the equation when we come to the crossroads of destiny. And there is some rare individuals who can see the unity within the duality, or the balance, the infinite balance within the creation. People who are tapped into the all.
Also, I had an interesting experience during my awakening. I wonder if you can shed some light on it. When I had my initiation in last year, February, there was two individuals who had their awakening at the same exact time as me. One was very, very dark and talking about like bloodlines and like all like very kind of dark vibe, and I could see like this weird, angry, higher dimensional being kind of possessing them, and they became a completely different person. And they had a physical like dot, like it's like someone had stabbed them in between their eyebrows, but not like blood or anything, just like a dot right there. And they sounded like really weird. And then the other individual was very kind of new age and positive, but like so in the spirit realm that she was like hurt by like everyday appliances or like all of this kind of stuff. And the darker individual said to me that I was balance and whatnot. Do you have any thoughts about this idea of multiple people being awakened at the same time, or why it played out this way? Yeah.
So within each of us lies a true nature. So when I'm working with someone on a very, very deep and vulnerable level of their consciousness, basically to get down to the root of the problem, I'll have to go beneath their shadow and their subconscious and down past their unconscious mind to something that's called the negative zone, or the neter. And neter in ancient Egypt meant nature. So that's your prime nature down there. So with someone who has an awakening, there are some people who are aligned with basically what I like to call the dark side of God, and people who are aligned with the light side of God. And then there's like some of us who are in between, who are like, so in infinity, you have a negative and a positive always. You always have a polarity. So some people are on one side, this positive side, and some people are on this negative or this dark side. And then some people can see past going to one side or the other, and they're right in the middle of that figure eight or that infinity symbol, and they're literally this like this in this middle of everything. They're in the center of all, and you can see the perceptions of light and dark. You are totally in this balanced form of yin and yang. There are dark alchemists, there are white light alchemists, there are even the more rarer breed of the two, the Twilight Alchemist. In Star Wars lore, I could best describe this as either you are a Sith or a Jedi, and then there's like the gray Jedi in the middle, which they take power from both sides, but they accomplish it for the highest and greatest good of all.
This is so exciting. I love all this content we're sharing. I'm planning to actually make this into a lot of different videos and post like one per day and everything. And I think each topic so everyone, we have again my friend and my guest here. Please go and get some sessions with him, book with him, and like and subscribe this video. So I'm curious about so I was awakened February 23rd or February 26th, lasted 4 days of last year. So what do I have to do? So I have to reach maximum potential like this year, or like what's my time crunch?
Well, to be honest, time and space is an illusion. You can wake up how fast or how slow you want to wake up, or where you want to go to your maximum potential. Like for me, because I was still stood by limitations and obligations to some old ideas that I had, it took me about, from 2019 to 2021 to really come into my true potential. Because, I was like putting a limit on what source was telling me, like what like I was like directing like how fast I wanted to grow in God's eyes. Like okay, God, I want to do all this stuff, but I gotta keep this job to pay the bills. I can't do this and that. So we'll come back to this another time, that kind of an energy, like self-doubt and like, okay, dude, you literally just told God that he's limited. What were you thinking? um, you can go as fast or as hard as you want to go. Um, and it also depends on how much you're willing to let go of an old idea to have an open mind for a brand new experience and a brand new thought. It's how willing, and it's also how willing you are to let go of who you think you are to discover who you really are. Um,
It's so
like,
cool. That's like when I take psychedelics, I have this experience where I feel that none of my thoughts or any of my experiences are my own. I feel like I'm just borrowing literally everything about me that you can think of. I feel like I'm just borrowing it for a second.
mhm. So yeah, there's definitely ways or sadhanas you can take to reach your full potential. Um, like there is oh yeah, I couldn't tell you how many different ways there are out in the cosmos right now. And I know each deity or deva has their own specific way, their own unique perception, how to tap into your full potential. And then there's certain practices and modalities, like excuse me, there are certain practices like Antojai, which stands for the cravings of life, the cravings of victory, which is basically the language of the ascended masters. So, do you mind if I talk about Antojai real quick? It's
Sure.
like this, it's a little tie into all of this, what I'm trying to say. Um, so when when we're born into this space, into this avatar, we essentially come in as a blank slate, and then we get filled with a lot of programs. So our basic consciousness, our existence, that's our operating system. And then as we grow, we're constantly installing new programs to uh, divvy out how that operating system works. And then by the time we have our grand awakenings, we're like, oh my God, I've got so many junk files and empty caches, and like, wow, I had a lot of viruses too in this system. So then we begin to purge all that. So when when you learn some of those programs when you're growing up, uh, one of those programs is language, culture, and society. So each language on this planet right now has a specific energy or a theme behind it. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, uh, Romance languages, Romanian, Italian, Latin, French, Portuguese, Spanish, all of those are Latin-based languages or Romance languages. And when people speak these languages constantly, they develop a strong sense of passion. Like, take this, I don't know if this is cliche, but France is known as the land of love. So when you speak Romance languages, you develop a sense of passion. And basically you have a programming of passion behind you, who you are in this lifetime.
Mm.
So with that being said, when you learn a new language outside of the language your parents spoke, you're essentially reprogramming yourself to think how people in that culture think. So language creates the society, then society creates the culture, and then the cycle repeats itself for every newborn that comes into that culture.
Wow.
So with that being said, like it is a whole study. There's a whole study called psycholinguistics, like how the specific words you use, the languages that you use affect who you are as a person. With that being said, what does Antojai do? Like Antojai literally is the language of source, essentially. Antojai is the language of the Ascended Masters. So when you start learning the language of the Ascended Masters, you are stepping into their realm of thinking, behaving, and acting. You're stepping into their society. You're stepping into their culture. You're becoming part of an ascended culture when you learn the language of the Ascended Masters. So if you learn the full language of Antojai, you have the opportunity and the blessing to become an Ascended Master if that's what you so choose. So coming back to the whole point about what you must do or what you want to do or what you feel in your bones that you have to do, there are long ways you can take, and then there are short ways like Antojai that you can take to really accelerate your abilities, like exponentiate your growth, tap into the higher dimensions, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So I'm wondering about the what are you able to see the gods right now if you want?
Yeah.
Wow. What gods do you see around me? I'm curious.
What gods do I see around you?
Yeah, or in me or around me.
Well, you kind of already told me earlier before this podcast, so I already kind of know. Um, Instantly there is Lakshmi, um, and I see Michael, um, Archangel Michael. Um, I see wolves around you, like Behirav's wolves.
Oh, that's so crazy because I had a friend who's a kind of like a medicine person, and he said the wolf spirit is here like a few days ago. What is that? What does it mean?
So, do you know who Bihirav is?
No.
So Bihirav is the most intense form of Lord Shiva. So that's like the passionate version of Shiva, where Shiva is this sadhak that's always in meditation. Bihirav is always the one who's like taking action, slaying demons, and has more emotions that are related to fire, like passion, vigor, anger, all that. So it's the intense version, and the sacred animal that's around him constantly are dogs and wolves.
Wow. That definitely rings true. How do you see them? What do they look like in your head or in your mind's eye, or you see them externally as well?
Um, Once you get to a place where I'm at, it's like, yeah, it's in my mind's eye, but not really anymore. It's more than just my mind's eye. It's also the eyes of my spirit. So like internal and external, they're part of the same infinity. So it really doesn't matter if they are seen like physically or mentally, because they're kind of the same thing anyways. Different but similar. There's some moments where I'll like catch a spirit out of my physical life. I'm like, oh damn, what are you doing here? Other times they'll appear to me like just this this silhouetted figure within my field of vision, and I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? And other times, there'll be a sacred symbol, like a ding dong, you got an email notification from this deity, or there'll be a sacred animal, like, okay, they sent me one of their messengers, so I got to go ahead and talk to them. Sometimes it gets a little scary for me. I'm not gonna lie. The scariest time that happened to me was, I had upset a particular chaos deity, and there was a power outage in my neighborhood, and I went to see what the power outage looked like, and it was in the shape of that deity's head. I was like,
wow.
Oh. I was like, okay, I gotta go make some peace now. So they'll either come to me as like messages, like a text notification, or their sacred animal, or there'll be a silhouette, or if it's like one of the Sanata Dharma deities or the Hindu deities, I'll start hearing their mantras pop off in my head. I'm like, okay, so this deity is here right now. Like I was someone was doing healing on me when they were just starting to practice their quantum Reiki, and I was like, okay, I don't know why, but I just started hearing the Gayatri mantra for Vishnu, and Vishnu is the god of authenticity, and so there was something in my throat chakra that needed to be worked on. So stuff like that'll happen when there's a deity that comes to say hi to me, or they'll just show up in my dreams when I'm sleeping. Yeah, and then sometimes I'll see them also in writing, or I'll get a numerology notification, like especially like triple digits or like double digits of four numbers, like 8484 or 555 777 111 222. I'm like, okay, who's calling, please? And then another time there'll just be a ringing in my right ear saying, okay, someone's trying to like deliberately contact you, like, so listen up. I'm like, hello, this is Gerrit, how can I help?
It's amazing.
So going back to your question of what must you do, right now, what kind of medicine do you think the earth needs right now?
I think the earth needs people to create subcultures that aren't parasitical, that are in alignment with the times and the seasons of the divine, and systems that are modeled on a divine structure rather than a maybe an artificial one. I think the earth needs people to ascend with its spirit in a way that integrates the earth and nature in with it and elevates the lower into the higher rather than abandoning it. And I think this will bring healing to the earth as we start to treat ourselves better by treating the external better. We'll start to see the disasters that are coming be put to an end because we'll be gaining conscious control over nature. In the scripture, it's in the Bible, it says the sons of God will be revealed. So the authority that we have as gods to really impact nature in a way that is shows compassion on beings that are lower, rather than the disrespect of the beings and the energies that are in the below, rather than the disrespect and the disregard for their consciousness. I think that the earth needs people who see that perspective, but I also understand the involution forces and the Antichrist and Armonic forces as well, and their part in kind of doing the tasks of the underworld as well. So
So in Gandhi's words, be the change you want to see. So that which is your passion to bring compassion and uh, a way of life that is life-giving and not life-taking. So be the one, I would say, for what you need to do to reach your full potential. One, be the change you want to see. Two, follow your dharma and the cravings of your spirit. And then three, live a life that gives you joy and passion and
Can
love.
would you speak a blessing over every single person that will hear this and every person that's listened to you? Would you bless all of us with this energy and where we'd be exactly where we need to be to have this kind of thing and say yes to it?
So one, what you must do in order to reach your fullest potential to help be of service to others and Mother Earth. One, be the change you want to see. Two, follow your dharma or the cravings of your spirit or what the passion of your soul is. Number three is live and manifest the life that brings you and generates for you joy, passion, and love.
And we thank Michael for protecting those words and sending out the angels and awakening, quickening our higher self with our lower self, and that all the tests that we have would be passed, that every available help and guidance would be there. We ask for this, the grace of these words to be delivered to everyone who needs them, that the people would find this video through the algorithms and they would really be nourished from those words and integrate them into their life and bring about that glorious new earth and that golden age that's coming soon. We thank you for spirit and source, and we thank ourselves for allowing us to be part of this beautiful unfoldment. Aho and amen. You're right about the Lakshmi thing. I do that mantra. I like to do the Mahalakshmi mantra every day. All the Venus energy and everything. Why do you think I got I'm curious, part of my awakening was there was a lot of Catholic elements. And I'm not Catholic, but I went with when everything was twisted and upside down, I was with the lady. It was like the Divine Mother projected on this person, and there was an understanding. They got all the bad, I got all the good. And there was this experience where we stood together with a priest and we took communion. But it was very dark and twisted, and like I thought it was like I would be tortured more. I had to do that. And yeah, that was it was very kind of creepy, very, very creepy. What do you think that was?
So this was the vision that you had in your awakening, yes?
Yeah, and the visions were like physical. It was like, you would have seen me hallucinating in this realm.
So that I believe was you were going to something called like what in shamanism, what we call the 3 days or even the 8 days of death. So when I say the word death, death doesn't apply just on a physical level. It also applies to your sense of identity. So when you're just first initiating into things, there's going to be a lot of death and purging of an old identification of who you used to be and going into the unknown, which really the unknown is actually the to be known. So in a sense, you went to the underworld to have your heart weighed.
Hmm.
Just like in Egyptian mythology, the dad would be guided through the duat or the underworld to the halls of Osiris,
And it
where
was
you're
literally like a puzzle. It was when I stepped a certain place, a door would open, this thing would happen, and there was all these like lessons that I learned, all these like different trials, so many different trials. I want to write a whole book about all the trials I suffered. And I met a bald-headed man who with a Middle Eastern accent who guided me. He was like, speak to this person, do this thing through it. Do you believe that was Anubis or what was
yeah,
that?
that's given me Anubis vibes for sure.
I was like so shocked. I was like, what? Am I speaking to Anubis? This is so wild. And he put me on the scales and it was like 0.0. It's so wild.
Yep. So when you're when you're ascending and when you're ready to just go stop from going from being a human to being eligible for ascended mastery, your karma has to be at 0.0 on your karma bank note.
Hmm.
Um, so and the 0.0 is also like you were being weighed against the feather of truth, which in essence is zero weight. And if you are equal to that light, the light freedom of truth, then you're in balance and harmony with the cosmos.
And then after the scales, I walked down the aisle. He told me to speak to some kind of examiner, and I walked down the center of the place from the left side, and we walked together. I walked 40 times in the center with a white garment over my head, like this, with my head down, kind of like divining, praying, because that was kind of like the structure I felt like I needed to go through. And there was a trading of places that happened in that exchange. Do you have any idea what this part of the initiation is for me?
So, so this was something called the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at.
Mm.
So these negative confessions are like the precursor to the biblical Ten Commandments. But instead of saying you shall not or thou shalt not, it was it was kind of a fun way the Egyptians worded it to where it would actually these 42 principles or the 42 laws of Ma'at would be programmed within you in a positive way instead of thrash the information into you. So the negative 42 confessions of Ma'at have language like this, like I have not stolen, I have not broken the law, I have not taken another man's wife, I have not committed adultery. The I have not piece is what's critical. Then negative confession means that in a sense, the 42 laws of Ma'at can act as a protection spell
Mm.
if you can authentically claim that you have not done these things. And that was the measure of a person in the duats. Did they follow all these laws, or was there something else behind this? Now, in an ascended work, you have different lives in the multiverse. You have parallel yous, and you also have like an evil version of you where you did do all of the craziness that the 42 negative confessions say that you have not in this version of you. So essentially, this examiner or Ma'at herself, being the examiner, the Egyptian goddess of truth, harmony, and justice, will try and ask you tricky questions. And it'll be your job to be neutral in the matter, knowing that a part of your soul has in the multiverse
Mm.
and has done and has not done the things that these
Wow.
trick questions are trying
Everyone,
to
don't
get you.
comment about this. He's helping you like literally be prepared when you die. like, and how to cleanse yourself before you die. Please share this video right now. Get the word out there. We need to help people with this process, because like me, it was the most horrible experience I've had in my entire life. And if I would have knew the process after death or during awakening, I would have been, it's so much nicer. I literally almost died. Like, I couldn't drink the water, I couldn't eat the food, couldn't sleep for over 3 days. And I wandered the halls of Amenti, just like, it was an eternity. It was outside of time. Just wandering the halls. I thought I was never coming out of there. Why was I permitted? And I prayed with all my heart to come back here. I prayed with everything in me. And when I came back, I had no attachments. My heart was pure. I lost all masculine drive or force in the world. Why did I make it out of there, do you think? Why did I die there?
You hadn't like actually given up your life, and you followed like on a unconscious level, you knew that if you behaved like you were alive down there, you would have been stuck there forever.
Wow.
Within the underworld, there is like these, like the quote unquote hounds of hell. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Thoth describes this a little bit. They're like the sounds of hounds like bells chasing after him, and the only way he escaped is by going through a circular motion. His soul traveling in a circular motion, where
and not angles, yeah.
Circular, not these angles.
I was wondering the whole time what that means. Tell me more about that. I've been wondering, like, what on earth, and no one's been able to answer it. I looked online, I'm like, I couldn't find the answer anywhere. So please, and that was going through my head. The words of Thoth came to me when I was in the underworld about that over and over and over again. His words gave me wisdom when I was there. What is that? The curves and not angles. That's so exciting. Oh.
Okay, so little fun fact. World War I, it had a lot of trench wars to it, like, where people would dig trenches in the ground and use that trench as a cover for all the artillery fire. Well, the German side.
And could you put your camera where your head is like lower a little bit?
Is that better?
A little bit farther. Because the forehead's cropped off here. Because I wanted to zoom in so we can see you better.
Okay. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, so World War I, the German generals instructed the soldiers to dig trenches at sharp 90-degree angles versus the Ally side of the war, like the UK side, where it was just these smooth, rounded edges. So this in these rectangular and squared off trenches, the squares and the sharp angles cut off energy. So to preserve the life of the soldiers that were in those sharp angled trenches, the vibrations of the artillery just even coming close to their trench, the vibrations would be cut off instantly once the vibration had traveled up to a certain point, and the casualty of the Germans dropped dramatically down in those sharp angled trenches versus the Allied side, which just had this like random dig out of like this, of like a mole's tunnel essentially. So the spirals, the circular motion, the circle is divine feminine.
Wow.
Sharp angles, or the square, is masculine.
And that's what I felt like the V that was on the wall represented, was the masculine, the feminine. I wondered if the above V was where I was at, and then it was telling me
that you needed to incorporate your divine feminine side.
That was the biggest theme, I think, there. So what you're saying is that if you find yourself in the underworld, it's important to be feminine, to be kind of yin when you're there. Is that what you're saying? Or do you mean physically move in a way? Yeah.
If you go down there and you're still like have a sense of like, oh, I'm alive, and you're not actually like surrendered into the idea that you're technically dead. Life is not supposed to be in the underworld, and there are hounds, the hellhounds, that will chase you down and make that correction, and that's when you will really, really be dead. So,
well, okay. So if I would have like eaten, if I would have like indulged in the food, or if I would have like, started a fight with someone to escape, or it's something like the more primal, if I would have accessed those primal energies in there, so that's when I would have been dead, you're saying?
Yeah, if you have the spark of like have this like thought, this wave of, oh, hey, I'm not actually dead, I'm alive in the underworld, the hellhounds are going to come after you and make that correction, and so you'll have to go through the entire process of going through the realms of the dead. And that, so in order, if you have that thought, if you need to escape the hounds of hell, because they can't follow you once you're past the underworld, you have to go out in a spiral. You have to escape through circles and spirals in order to evade them, in order to avoid them, because they can only follow you in a sharp angular momentum. So you need so what that means is, so the masculine consciousness.
Okay, sorry. Do you also mean physically walking in a curve?
Yeah, walking in a curve, yes. Like,
you have to physically walk in a curve, you're saying, as an addition to the principle, or is it just the principle?
Just the principle. So the masculine consciousness is very linear. Like, go to point A to point B, get all this tasks done in a row to get to this destination. That's linear in its concept. Where the divine feminine is an all-encompassing energy. It's like the big picture versus the minute detail. Like the masculine consciousness, you're like, move thread A to point B and then point C to point H to complete the pattern in the tapestry. Whereas the overall arching principle of the feminine is, okay, look at the big picture and just basically follow this pattern, looking from an outside perspective. So the divine feminine will be more comprehensive than the masculine. And so these hellhounds, they only have one task in mind. Like their whole existence is a linear aspect. They can only chase you and hunt you down with a linear consciousness. So that's why you have to go through a feminine spiral to escape their grasp.
How did I actually end up doing that with the spiral? How did I do that?
You just followed the cosmic IP address back to life.
How did I do that? Like, in what example in my actions did I?
You just did.
Well, I'm trying to help people if they go there. Like, how do they tap into that, like practically, when they're in the underworld?
There's not one set answer that you can I can say physically, like this is the actual protocol. The protocol is you go there, you get tested, you stay within your mind that you're dead to this old lifestyle that you left, and you're down in the underworld to get cleansed and release your ego, essentially. And then
I felt my ego die, and I felt like I didn't exist, and I had to relearn how to be human when I came out of it. I had to, like, okay, humans do this and humans do that.
So like, and you were already being instructed to go back to life by Thoth when he told you to go in a spiral. So at some level you already have a comprehension. You it's like you've done that before, and you just needed like a friendly reminder, like getting back on the bike after a long winter, and you finally can ride your bike again. It's like just like getting back on the bike. You might have a little fumble here and there, but it's ingrained in you. So some
There's
people
this
have
huge.
gone through this work before, and they're able to recollect stuff. Like some people are ascended masters and they just don't even know it yet until they go through some experiences. They have an awakening, and then they get the download of like, oh yeah, I'm this person. This is who I really am.
And there was all the rooms. There was all of these rooms that were the scripture from the Emerald Tablet kept coming to me. Don't go in, or the book of the or whatever it's called, kept coming to me about not going into the rooms, because I would go into these different rooms that were there in the hallways, and it was so confusing. I thought I had to go in all the rooms. I thought I had to be tortured in every single room, and then I was like that. The word came to me about you don't need to go in all of the rooms, and I started to stay in the central part of it instead of going into all the rooms and whatnot. What is that with all the rooms?
So you were in a mentee, correct?
I was in what?
A mentee,
The mental hospital, is that what they call it?
a mentee. The
Oh, a mentee. Yeah.
so essentially a mentee is the Akashic record of the Earth, essentially.
And there were scribes
So
there too that were continually scribing everything. There was 3 different scribes that were typing away or scribing away that were there.
so each of these rooms, there's different different versions of you, and some of them could have been you paying your karma, and some of them were lessons that weren't really learned, and you had to get them down this time around. And in like the official place where the records are kept about which lessons are which, there's some like where hardships actually give you a gift. There's some experiences that compress you down and put so much pressure on you that you're forced to become a diamond.
Well, like a physical diamond?
Metaphorically, but
Okay.
um, back in the day before we had this modern technology, uh, the lightning bolt and the diamond were one of the two most powerful forces of the earth. An unstoppable force and an indestructible substance, essentially. So within the cosmos, there is a way for you to become an invincible diamond. So there are some experiences that will crush you down to where it's just you and the bare bones, and then until you like start learning how to either sidestep out of that, or you match the force that's trying to crush you and you blow it away, and you reveal what kind of an indestructible being you are.
Wow.
So some of those were hardships, some of those were actual like strength trials. Like Thoth said, you don't actually need to do all of that when you're like initiating. You just need to get down to like the main basic of why you're here, who you really are, and how you're going to use that.
I felt like if I didn't have a will to come back to this realm, I felt if I didn't, yeah, have a will to do that, then I would have been lost. And I thought maybe this is what happens to people who are like, who have gone crazy, is they didn't have enough, strong enough will to come back here. Am I correct in thinking that, or what do you think?
Yes, you're correct. That sometimes is the case. There are people who don't have a strong will and they get into this intense stuff and they're unprepared and they basically will go mad.
Ah, it was really wild. When I met Judith A. Buchanan, my feminine side, she was being tortured when I was fine, and when I was being tortured, she was fine. Is there anything about that you know from the Egyptian about the meeting the feminine side or something, or what do you think about this?
I think this is more something to do with you personally within your lifetime. So where your feminine side was tortured, you were okay. And where your feminine was fine, you were tortured.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that essentially sound like? Like the true nature or your subconscious, unconscious you, which is your feminine side, and then your conscious masculine, which it so your subconscious is on the left side of your body, and your masculine is on the right, conscious is on the right side of your body. So, I mean, it's kind of like a big trope that goes on for people who are not awakened to all of this, that people will hide away stuff that logically doesn't make sense to them on their conscious side, but on the inside, they will feel repressed, they will feel silenced, they will feel unaligned and unauthentic, and that creates a shadow, which is a problem for both the masculine and the feminine. So whenever your feminine was okay, your masculine was tortured, like finally the full authentic you and versus the programmed you that said, oh my god, this is not who I'm supposed to be, like I'm dying over here, where this is the I'm actually thriving, I'm okay, and vice versa. Like what
I
parts
came
of you?
from a fundamentalist background, a very Christian fundamentalist background, like the most
Mhm.
intense possible. So I feel like that played a part in of the kind of intense patriarchal religion, because it was the devouring mother that I faced, and I kept going in the sixth room. I told you about and I want to hear your thoughts about the fertility goddess place. It was on the door with the really fat women that were eating, and I was like, um, I was I was Hitler in that state, and I was like really really evil. I was like my super ego when I was there. And in waking life, I'd never thought anything like that,
So
except I had a dream about it. But
so back in going back to the winter cycle of our human lifespans, um, what did Hitler represent essentially?
dark, evil masculine,
Dark, suppressive, and uh,
asymmetrical and angular masculine, I think.
mhm. Essentially, if like this was a lineage from a patriarchal society ever since the Roman Empire. If
Mm.
women spoke out of turn, they were in real risk of being tortured or killed. It was a very real thing, and there's still this. I almost think this is almost like a cellular slash ancestral memory for us that if our feminine sides come out, we're going to be killed and punished somehow. Um, but that's not the case anymore. It's safe and it's beautiful for our divine feminine to come forward and come out. So you being introduced to the mother goddess who is fertile in everything, uh, that was you're like an initiation spark for you to awaken to your divine feminine. It's what I can see right now, unless there's something
Is
that
there a
doesn't.
place?
Hmm?
Is there a place in it, like it had the doors of the fertility goddess on it, and it had, like I said, the six rooms. Is there any place you know of like this with the six rooms?
No, but I
What
do
represents?
know that um in total there are seven main lords and then five lords uh 5 lords beneath the 7 lords in Amenti. And essentially this is like the 12 dimensions of this plane and humanity. So the 6, a mother goddess in 6 rooms. 6, from what I know, is the divine mother of magic. 6 is the mother of all magic. So like in the 369 sequence, there is the maiden, mother, and crone. And so the 6 equals the mother aspect. I don't know what you would have experienced in each of those 6 rooms.
I only went into the 3rd and the 6th, and the 6th one was like all about Hitler and Nazis, and like I was possessed by evil. And then the 3rd one was the like folk dancing and like folk ethnic harmony. I didn't even go in that one because I feel like at that part of I was possessed by my superego or the devouring or the evil masculine. I felt like I was possessed by that as I started the descent into the underworld. And by the way, the descent into the 4, the archetype through a friend of mine of Lilith came to me, and she was the ushering in to the rest of the experiences.
So Lilith, she represents a dark version of Earth, and she is the queen of vampires, especially
but I felt like I was a
incubi.
vampire. I literally felt like I was a vampire when I was going through that. Wow, it makes so much sense. Yeah,
Yeah, so she is the queen of vampires, which is more than just, a typical drink blood and yada yada. It's more about consuming and stealing energy from another person to fuel your own energy. It's she represents the earth which consumes people, a dark version of earth that consumes people. And you have to be the toughest of tough in order to survive. So
every breath there was taking it from someone else. Every drop of water was someone else killing somebody else. Everything was parasitical there. Everything I did, moving, it was all killing other people. That's how it felt. So I felt very guilty for being there, and I wanted to just die because I felt like everything I did would hurt someone else.
It is possible for people to incarnate from other realms and either ascend and transcend. Like even angels and demons, they have the chance to go beyond just being the force of nature or the instrument in the will of God. I've heard of one story who is like the main angel, the head of all the different choirs and the different hierarchies of the angel. Like those is like the one angel that was in charge of everything. And then this angel became the first ascended master among angels and gained free will and essentially became another aspect of the divine. And that's kind of what inspired Lucifer to start his rebellion. So it's possible for anyone who comes into this body, whether they incarnate as angels or they come in from the demonic realms, they have a chance here to ascend and go past what their prime nature, their prime unconscious dictates. They have a chance to ascend and grow a whole other nature that reveals who they really are. Ascended nature.
Yeah, I feel like a demon that's trying to be an angel. That's how I feel my yeah.
Yeah, so it's like there's this a man that was once my friend, and there was sometimes where I get this thought out of nowhere of like being physically intimate with this person. I'm like, Gerrit, stop that. That's nonsense. Where did that come from? Like, turns out, when I had asked someone within the ethers that wasn't human, and this was an archetype of the unforgiving truth. I'm like, okay, I need to know, who was this fool in my life and why was he here? And he's like, dude, that dude is an incarnation of a demon and you fell for it.
Wow.
And it turns out he was an incubus. That's, an incubus. I don't know if you know this, but an incubus is like the male version of a succubus. And like those spirits, they know how to stimulate the human sexuality. They'll give you a lot of pleasure, like more so than a human can, but they will suck all the life force via your sexual vitality, because sexual energy is a key component to life. It is the fires of life. So there's not just humans and starseeds incarnating. There is positive star races and negative star races coming in on the Earth right now, converging in this present moment, this nexus point of reality, which determines whether you're going to go into this third dimensional sphere of a 3D Earth, or are you going to ascend into the new 5D base frequency Earth. So there's going to be a lot of change once we're officially go the official split off, where there's people who are going to stay behind on a 3D Earth and people who are going to live on a 5D Earth.
Is that what they call like the rapture?
You could say that it can happen like that way, or there'll just be this one moment where people, like right now here, this is how people are leaving this reality that's not suited for them. So people who can't handle the 5D right now, they're experiencing that in death. Like, you ever had a dream where you just died in that dream and you're like, oh man, I had a dream I died?
No, I don't think. No.
So there's sometimes people have a dream where they died of something, and there'll be some people who will be like, oh man, I died from COVID, and wake up and they'll still be in this third dimensional sphere. And then some people will literally just blip out of existence and you won't really know it.
Whoa.
And then there is a big.
What do you mean they don't know it? What do you mean someone disappears and they don't even know they disappeared? Then where are they? They're nowhere, or like
They're in a different universe. There's like two new parallel realities being created right now. One for people who don't resonate anything near what the 5D brings to you, and then the people who have grown to or born into the fifth dimension. Like all these COVID babies that are being born right now, the fifth dimension was officially turned on Earth in 2020. So all these COVID babies that are coming in right now, man, they're going to be some powerful 5D people.
Where are you and I? Like where are we? What universe are we in right now? Are we in the good one? Are we in the neutral one? Like where are we?
We're in right now. And where your vibration is, that will determine where you're going to be at. The more you practice this ascension, the more you practice love, the more you practice things that bring you joy, the more you experience, the more you experience things above 499 on the Hawkins scale of consciousness to 500 and beyond, the further you're going to be the closer we're going to get to that new Earth reality. I mean, we're practically, like, you and me, we're like going to be a quote unquote founding father to the next generation.
Good. So you see me as part of that one.
You wouldn't be talking to me otherwise.
Yay! Hooray! And thanks for everyone who's watching this. Where would you put everyone who's watching this?
If they're watching this right now, they were meant to see this, and they were meant to. Some people will be asking more questions like, "Oh my God, am I at 5D? Surely it must be at 5D. I wouldn't be here otherwise." And other people who are not meant to see this, who are either not going to be 5D period, or people who are just beginning to transform into that. These are the kinds of people that are watching. Like, there is a mixed variety of people. Like, the more that the years go by, the more 5D people are going to be watching this video and seeing a transformation within themselves.
So cool. This is so exciting. I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird being in this plane. Like, I feel like, why is everyone not interested in like what's happening here? I'm like, what?
Because some
I
people,
just felt like everyone's preoccupied with like sandcastles.
right, tell me about it. I'm like, you people, the simplest rule, do unto others as you would have them done unto you. My God, that is the simplest rule, and y'all can't even handle that. Is it a wonder you all want to keep having the aliens come back and get you? Well, uh, aliens are like, yo, I don't want your craziness up here. All right, so you've learned all your lessons, and then come talk to us, okay? Um. So why aren't people interested? Well, simple truth, ignorance. Another simple truth, some people's dharma is not to bring peace. Some people's dharma is to go to that 3D earth. Like, there are some people who, like, there are fresh souls right now that will still want to have the experience of hardship, and then once they're done playing that game, they can come over to this 5D reality if they want. And this, so um what else is going on right now? There are some people who are legitimately trying to distract people from reaching their true potential because they themselves are in ignorance and falling prey to their own deceit that they won't have any more power if everyone becomes 5D. So there are some people who are truly being malicious and keeping people away from the truth. There are people who are totally self-serving that they go into this nihilism, like, uh, nothing matters, so I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and screw all this mumbo jumbo. I'm gonna go live how I want to live. Period. Some people will go take a Luciferian experiment where they will cut themselves up from the divine entirely and live purely on self-will run riot, or self-will if disciplined, if that's how far they get. So like I said, there's a mixed bag of people right now, and that's kind of like the idea behind creation. Everything's supposed to have a variety. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all source, and we're all having our own experiences, and it's not really our job to be worried about why people aren't so interested in this stuff. Our job right now is to be who we are authentically to the cosmos, to step into our own power, to step into our own mastery, and then provide some of those lessons that we've learned from source to other people, and we'll take the ones that want to resonate with us along the way. So it's our job to find the right people. It's our job for us to attract the right people, and for us to, and take it a step further with this, it's our job to flow into the right people on this walk that you and I are taking. So our job is to live our most authentic lives that gives us the ability to follow our dharmas, complete those dharmas, create lives full of joy, love, and passion, And that is our job. And the rest will be left up to whoever's in charge of the people that aren't interested in this.
Would you say that, let me think. Also, how do you feel about doing different practices from different traditions? Is it
Oh,
people say you have to do like one thing? What's going to happen to me? What jurisdiction will I fall under if I like do Hinduism and Buddhism and esoteric Christianity and tarot? And what happens if I do everything? Is that a bad thing, or like am I allowed to? Like what's the
oh, honey, I am all. That is not a bad thing at all. Like that's what I do. Like I have, I like as me and my husband like to say, I've got a little corner in everything. Um, so what do you want to do? Let me ask you this: is either on this pathway, either I don't know what you want to call it, source, God, universe, cosmos, I don't know what floats your boat, but basically this is the principle. Either God is everything or God is nothing. And if God is nothing, well, then you're screwed. You're on your own figuring stuff out. But if God is everything, you're going to trust that whatever brings to you, what practices you're going to start, that God is also in that. And there's no separation at the end of the day. And I mean, all in all, that's what Antojai essentially is for me, because it incorporates everything from Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Shintoism, animism, um, uh, traditional indigenous shamanism, my gosh, Egyptian alchemy, European alchemy, uh, uh, Greek philosophy, you name any kind of spirituality, even Kabbalah or Hebraic magic or Jewish magic, like that is all in Antohai because, like I said, Antohai is the backbone codex of the Matrix, and so yeah, Antohai is literally in everything. Like there are symbols in throughout time, space, and all the pantheons that those symbols are actual words or the keys within Antohai. So I mean, in from the seven laws of Hermetism, the all is mental. So even though we're doing this and that and we're keeping things separate, it's still part of God. So if it's still part of God, why do you want to limit to yourself to just one idea and one identity?
Mhm.
And you could have an identity that's more aligned with source, an identity that is more aligned with God, being infinite and changing.
So what god would that be? Someone did a reading on me on this channel, and they actually picked the most eclectic one. They were like, "Which god am I?" Is there a god, a name of that energy that like likes all of them or stands at the crossroad or something? I like to see them all and kind of like move forward in that. What would you call that?
Like the specific deity, or
Any kind of classification, whether it's a deity or something else. Like, what is that? What
the,
would you name?
if you want to be in like this crossroads
Where you
of,
understand all paths and you like understand the trajectories and you can properly practice mastery of whatever you'd want. I guess that's like magician or something. Or
so I would say that's kind of like a crossroad archetype. Like there's like certain, like take Hecate for example, the goddess Hecate from Greek mythology. She is the goddess of magic, necromancy, and the crossroads. What we
oh
mean by
wow. I didn't know she was part of the crossroads. That's so cool.
yes, so part of the crossroads is being able to see multiple paths at once and then being able to place yourself on those paths while still maintaining the lucidity of other options.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool. Whoa.
Yeah, so if you like want to see all paths, like I would say that's like a crossroads. Ganesh is also another gatekeeper slash crossroads deity. He, like, before you do any feasts or you want to talk to a deity directly, it would be better if you go through Ganesh and have him open gateways for you so that you can just talk to deities like that. Like, since he's the remover of obstacles, he's also
like and share this video. He's giving so many amazing tips here, and please go part of his coaching, go and support his work, show him some love, and comment what you think, which advice helped you the most, and get this video out there, because we need to help elevate the frequency and bring people into greater nourishment for their soul and kind of balance out the materialism. So let's make this, let's be the wave on the Aquarius. Let's be the Aquarius wave. Let's be on the cutting edge. Let's not be on the aggressive. And you have a very important role to play. And if you're watching this, you're meant to see this. Like, this is spirit speaking to you about something, and listen to your soul. And maybe something we said inspired you. Go and investigate that further. Go and, book a session with him or book a session with me, or go learn on your own and experience the fullness of what spirit has for you. So. I had another question too about, unless you had anything else to say about the crossroads.
Oh yeah, the only one other thing I could think of is truth. Deities who are aligned with truth and authenticity, and deities that are also aligned with wisdom. When you walk on all paths, you gain a lot of wisdom, and when you see the truth, you know that there's multiple paths to take.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. It's all these flowers that are blooming in their own way, but they want you to pick them, and that's kind of part of the illusion. I did really want to understand how you see, on an esoteric level, what is the whole. I had a lot of, when I was in fundamentalism, especially after my awakening, I processed through kind of the trauma, and I went back into the fundamentalism for a little bit because it was familiar, but it seemed to be what's called a doom imprint, where it's like, I'm going to be tortured, and no matter how hard I try, even if I become like this amazing, or like this really twisted fundamentalist that is like paranoid by everything, and like just everything is a demon and everything's evil, and just kind of like demonizing literally everything, and like, what is that, like, archetypally? Like, what is there a god over that? Where is it on the tree of life? Like, I really want to understand this energy, like on the tree of life or any other modalities, what that is.
So did you know that there's a tree of life, and there's also its mirror or its twin,
Yes.
the tree of knowledge or the tree of death?
Yeah.
So there's also information to pull from that tree as well. If I was to say, if it was to have something on the tree of life and the fundamentalist teachings, I would put that heavily on Gavura, which is like bravery, courage, warriorship, judge, that energy. And if we're taking that a step further, I would say it's Gevra or Malchut, which is the kingdom, where like you can find it pretty much anything happen, whether it's positive or negative. And even further, the tree of knowledge, or the tree of death, is where that doom and that impending sense of doom, like, that's not what that's not what was taught about how to reach the kingdom of God. So, why do you want to create war all the time? I mean, if you really don't want demons around, well, why are you creating them?
Yeah, it's so like trick. To me, it's like a trickster energy, because it's like, you're doing the exact opposite of what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So in the name of angels and, you know, love and light, you're demonizing everything and turning it into like hell. Like, I don't understand, like, what is that, a trickster god? Like, what kind of god from ancient times is this?
Oh,
And
I
is
see what
this,
you're saying. I see what
yeah,
you're
I'm
saying
trying
now.
to figure out, how do I look at that esoterically? And then I'm wondering, is this, do you see this energy, is this kind of the bulk of Christian fundamentalism, or is this just like paranoia on all sides or something? Because I see some of those vibes in like kind of certain aspects of it, but then I know there's other aspects that aren't like that. Can you help me sort out what this energy is on, like, esoterically or divinely or whatever?
Some of this is largely just trauma, unhealed
Hmm.
trauma. The unhealed victims will victimize others, plain and simple. So then esoterically, they're trickster gods. Trickster gods don't necessarily like you can like trick people into things, but I don't recall any trickster god that would play this out for like generations and generations. Like the only tricksters out there are the ones who are their own worst devils. Like here's the whole joke about the devil, essentially. Like you will be, if you ever go into hell at one point and you face every single demon you have faced in your life, you could have like what, 400, 1,000 of those demons throw in your face, throw your own well BS back in your face. And you're like, damn, and you clear all that out, and finally when you get to the devil itself, and he just will like be going like, you were your own worst devil. That's it. That's the whole joke.
I think so. Yeah,
People,
that makes sense.
people want to blame the devil for everything, but I'm like, but the whole thing is,
It's
you
so
are
fun.
your own worst enemy for crying out loud, and you've been given, of all people, you are supposed to be the ones who are supposed to be the keeper of a way so you don't become your worst enemy, and still, he didn't get it.
Yeah.
um, so. And number two, there's people who uh, say that there is, in the name of God, there is, I do this and that, but really, that's just a play for power. That is manipulation game. That is like a narcissist to dark empath vibration.
Mm.
And I mean, bullshit is bullshit. No matter if it's a dark god or a god of brilliance and light, they hate bullshit, period. Pardon my French, I don't think I'm supposed to say that on YouTube. Oops.
Mm-hmm.
So inauthenticity and lies equals someone who really isn't worthy for, you know, going a dark route or going into a light route. It doesn't work that way.
Amazing.
You have to know thyself either way. And if
Yeah.
you're lying to other people, you are definitely not going to know yourself.
That's so helpful. Everyone send a like, talk about, I want to know from the viewers, where do you express your most authentic self? What pieces of yourself do you uncover on a daily basis? What places of yourself are you curious about? Tell us. We'll read the comments. So. I'm wondering about, this question is burning in me because these are questions that I don't feel like I hear the answers to hardly anywhere. And I really want to know, what should someone do, like if they had an underworld experience like me, but they got trapped there. Like say they died, their body, they didn't sleep or drink and then they're dead. Where they're kind of like, what do they do after you're dead and you're in the underworld? What do you do? What can you do then? after, like, the cord is cut or whatever, or as they say?
So the cord is cut, but it's not cut. It's you are and you are not. You're in a very neutral place when you go there, and you just accept the fact that, okay, I have died. Just like, don't say in a way I have died. Like, let me give you a story on like my journey with the underworld when I got initiated into higher mediumship beyond shamanism. So I went to something called the 999 Stairways to Heaven. It's an
Whoa.
actual physical place in the world, but I went there astrally and I walked up each one of those
Whoa.
steps, and I felt my ego pulling me back. I'm like, no, like, Gerrit, we're gonna die. I'm gonna die. Don't go any further. I said, I have to, because I love myself even more. So I
Love
pushed,
that.
I got up to the top of the stairs, and then there was this uh thing called the Samun Gateway.
Mhm.
It looked to me, it appeared like this was this house, this Chinese architecture structured house, and it looked like it was a mansion. But I went in, and as soon as I went in, I was started meditating there, and then the next thing I knew, when I opened my eyes in that vision, that I was in the underworld, and I accepted the fact that I had essentially died. Just that. I knew that somewhere my body was somewhere, and I didn't know right now what it was doing, but I was just going to trust the process and move on, move forward. I'm like, all right, let's get this over with. Like,
Is this like a conscious birth you're describing, where you, like, your last life and then you died and then came here?
this is the conscious birthing process. I'm telling you right now. This is what I experienced in
Oh,
2021.
wow.
This is what I experienced from September 2021 to November 2021. This didn't last. This specific story didn't last that long. This happened in one early morning in September.
So what do you mean you
So
died? You mean your physical body died in another dimension, and then now you're in a different one? Or do you mean that your ego died and then you had a rebirth, or both? Or
both.
so are we in the afterlife right now? Because I had people tell me that after my underworld experience that I'm officially, like, dead or something. Is this like the underworld? Are, like, we not living anymore?
Well, we're living. We're living in a higher dimension now. We died in a lower frequency, but now we're
Wow.
in a higher level.
Wow. Everyone comment higher level right now. So so exciting.
So as I was continue my journey in the underworld, I still I still had this acceptance, like I was dead. I don't know what happened to my body, but it's weird. I can still think and talk like I was alive, but I knew I was dead in a way. And so I went and I was like, take me to the halls of Osiris. And I did. And Osiris was standing there with the crook and flail in his hand, watching over me. And there was the scales that weighed the heart. And there was Anubis there. And no, Anubis didn't come yet. So there was Ma'at there and Osiris. And so I looked at her and I said, look, let me just save everyone some time here, because according to all the questions you are going to ask me, I have and I have not. Yes, I have committed those sins
Wow.
because I authentically did those in parallel lives in alternate universes. And yes, I have not committed any of those sins because I am completely pure in this life. And yes, I have done a mixture of all of this in this lifetime. So I have and I have not. And so Osiris said, we're not going to weigh your heart. You step onto the scale itself. So I stepped onto the scale, and I was lighter than the feather. And then Osiris said to me, "My son, you have passed the test, but you must die one more time." I didn't know what that meant, and I said, "I trust you, and I trust this process. Proceed." And so Ma'at started a fire just off to one side of the room, and then I stepped into that fire, and I basically cremated myself wherever that was. And then after my charred bones were taken, Anubis came and mummified me and put me into a coffin. And then after that, I was in like this deepest and darkest place I'd ever been. Like it was like the void beyond the void. Like I'm like, oh, this is what the no existence feels like. This is what it feels like. So even though I was aware of that, I didn't actually exist anymore at that point. And then Osiris
Wow.
said, "You can come back up now." And so I came back to my body that had been lying on the couch there, and all the room was shaken like crazy, like this, to my perception, like what is going on? He said, "You must choose which life you're going to lead now. Are you going to lead an Antojai life where you become a master and you master this whole language, or are you going to go back to your old life where
Whoa.
it was more comfortable for you?" And like, I choose an Antojai life, and then the room stopped shaking, and now I was on a new path, the path that would lead me to mastery.
Amazing.
So I think that's all the time I have for today. Thank you for inviting me onto the show. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful to have been of service.
This was the most amazing interview that I've had on here. So definitely let's possibly do this again when it feels right. And
Yes.
this was like super monumental. I feel like I don't hear these questions answered very easily. And I feel like our viewers will find this to be meaningful and get some answers, get some preparation before they depart from this world and everything. So I'm going to stop the recording. So.